Hello everyone, Michael here from Flesh to the Father. Today's video, I'm asking, should we in Western countries ban the Catholic Church? Let's go. Now, the reason I do this video is not to be controversial really, but I'm exposing a lot of the Jew-hating Catholics. And there are some Jew-hating Christians as well, but I find that Catholics especially seem to have irrational and wrongly informed hatred of the Jews, such as like Candace Owens is obsessed with the Jews, she's a Catholic. Nick Fuentes is one who's obsessed with hating the Jews as a Catholic. And you see many others, even Kanye West is getting popular from his Jew hatred. And whilst there is legitimate criticism of Israel and some Jews, just as you can criticize people in every community, I feel the pure hatred of Jews is completely unwarranted and unnecessary. And a lot of it comes from Christianity, if we're honest, and the Catholic teaching of Christianity that basically says, you know, the Jews killed Jesus, they're the Antichrist, you know, they're the synagogue of Satan because, you know, the Jews rejected Jesus. But the truth is, the Jews were correct to reject Jesus as their Messiah because, as I said, there's a 2-hour video that I posted a link in my community page. Before you come and say, oh, no, Jesus was cleared in the Messiah. Go and watch that 2-hour video. Because I say, I've watched hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of videos. I don't just assume something. I try and seek the truth. So go and watch that video. And then before you comment, if you're going to comment about Jesus being the Messiah, because if you do your research, you'll understand he clearly wasn't the Messiah. So the Jews were correct to reject Jesus. But in my opinion, they're not correct to reject the Spirit of Christ. But also, I believe the Christians reject the Spirit of Christ because when I talk about it, they claim that I'm a heretic, even though I'm not a Christian, but they claim that I'm not speaking the truth when I believe I am speaking the truth of Christ, which was a spiritual message, not the ridiculous Christian story that basically twisted and corrupted Jesus' spiritual message. But anyway, onto the subject of the video. The point, I'm basically saying that we should ban Catholics in the same way that what these Catholics do is they come up with a theory and they'll post things like, as I put on the screen here, 2,000 rabbis support refugees. And then they make out that there's this plan from the Jews to flood the West with invaders to ruin our culture. And okay, even if that was true, as Jesus said, take the thorn out of your own eye before you criticize others. Let's look at the Church of England. They're out here promoting all the refugees and the migration crisis. The Catholic Church are out there promoting it. And then when I went to look up the NGOs, I thought, let me do my research. Who are these NGOs? Because I'm thinking, well, is it a load of Jews behind the NGOs? And when I looked into it, most of them are blimmin' Christian charities. Like loads and loads of Christian charities supporting refugees. So I find it completely hypocritical for these Catholics to say, oh, look at the Jews are flooding the West with migrants, when the Christian church are just as bad. So we should ban Catholics. And they love to see that, oh, but look at all the Jews in power in Hollywood and in these industries. Okay, fair enough. But let's look at the Catholic Church. I did some research into people who are Catholic or raised Catholic. We have the main man behind the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, is a Catholic, was raised a Catholic. Bill Gates was raised a Catholic. Tony Fauci was raised a Catholic. You got most of the politicians in America, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, they're all Catholics. The most evil politician in the UK was a Catholic, Tony Blair. And we all know that the Vatican is probably the richest organization, or one of the richest organizations in the world. The power and influence of the Catholic Church is arguably one of the biggest in the world. And what are they doing with it? They're not spreading the truth and love of Christ. They're going along with the globalist agenda. And without doubt, the Catholic Church and most churches, the Church of England, the Catholic Church, they've all been corrupted. So the question I ask is, if the church, because Christians always argue with me and go, no, you don't represent Christ. The church represents Christ. So the question I have for you then, Christians, is, would something that's truly of Christ have been subverted? If the church, if the Catholic Church, if the Church of England, if these were of Christ and of God, why have they been subverted? Jesus said, you'll know them by their fruits. And the fruits that you're bearing are not good. You know, if the church and the Bible thumpers and all of these people were representatives of Christ, why have you been corrupted and subverted? I think I know the answer. It's because they do not represent Christ. The truth about who represents the Father and Christ are those who are spiritually reborn. And they don't necessarily have to even be born from like any particular sect or religion. It's just awakening within oneself. And then you fight for the truth in spirit. And I believe even within the Bible, they're trying to teach that, but the message has got lost along the way somewhere. Okay, so I think you get the point of what I'm trying to make in this video. And it's very popular at the moment to spread Jew hatred, but understand that, yes, there are bad Jews like George Soros. And we can ask questions about why does Israel have certain influence over American politics, but always try to look to the other side. And there is no reason for people to hate your everyday Jew or to come up with weird theories like Hitler that they need to be persecuted. It's absolute rubbish. And it's not of God or of Christ to promote this stuff. It's of false Abrahamic religions, which basically just love to hate rather than love people. And as I say, in the same way, just as we shouldn't hate Jews, I do not hate Catholics just because there's so many, just because the Vatican's corrupt, just because there's so many evil Catholic people, doesn't mean that I hate Catholics. And I know that most Catholic people are good people and they do have good meaning towards God and Christ. But I would ask them to reconsider, and I would actually tell them to come and join with what myself and many others are talking about and really follow Christ. And if you really want to do it, go and subscribe to my channel, Christ of England, where I'm going out into real world and eventually I'll be trying to have an impact and make up for where the Church of England and the Catholic Church have failed. And be the real light of Christ rather than the fake light of the church who have been subverted because they're not of the truth. Okay, so that's pretty much the point of my video today. Usual stuff. Subscribe if you're new. Subscribe to the Christ of England. Like the video if you like it. Comment below if you have any thoughts. If you're a Christian and you're a part of the church, explain to me, if it's all true, why have you been subverted? I'm keen to know. And God bless everybody for now. Goodbye.